This year is almost over and there were 2 updates of Corona. So today I want to look back at 2025 and show you my favorite feature of Corona this year. We've got, among others, Gaussian splatting support, a night sky system, tons of new Cosmos assets, tone shading options, the Vantage Live link for real-time rendering, updates to Chaos Scatter, procedural fabric material, and a couple of AI tools. And my winner is procedural fabric material. Now we can create a wide range of realistic fabrics, no need for external bitmaps or complex node setups. Here I have a scene from our visualization training. We used to need many textures to create realistic fabrics, but with the Corona fabric material, that's no longer an issue. Let's choose the material from the list and apply it to the object. What I really like is that they included ready-to-use presets that help you get started quickly. You can choose from bamboo, polyester, cotton, linen, organza, satin, or wool materials. I'll go with the cotton twill here. It makes the workflow so much easier and faster since you don't need to tweak so many settings. The weave pattern is chosen automatically, but you can change it if needed. What I like to do is keep the scale low so the pattern is visible and I know exactly what I'm doing. Now, we can see the pattern well. Usually, I don't change much here because these base materials are already set up very well. You can also adjust the proportions of the yarn strands. For example, make the weft diameter smaller than the warp one. It's also possible to control the number of piles, though it won't be very noticeable from a distance. Let me zoom in so you can see the change. It becomes more important in close-up shots. I don't want to change settings like fibers here since this isn't a close-up, so there's no need for that. But I'll definitely work on the color. It's great that we can choose different colors for the horizontal and vertical yarns, adding more variety to the fabric. I like to change the colors slightly for that extra richness. Here we can also modify the base material properties such as roughness, refraction, and more. I wanted this fabric to be a bit shinier, so I lowered the roughness value. There's also a sheen layer, just like in the Corona physical material, which makes working with this material very intuitive. We can adjust it the same way. I'll lower the roughness value, for instance. Once I'm ready, I adjust the final scale. It looks really good, and without using any maps. That's what I value most about this material. The yarn scale can be off, or you might need a different pattern. But with the Corona fabric material, we have full control. Let's work on the next material. In this case, I chose linen white from the presets. It's perfect for the bedsheet. I lowered the scale, as previously, to see what's going on. In this case, I'll increase the amplitude of the yarn strands, which influences the shading. I'll just change the color to be more white than yellow, and I'll be ready to increase the scale value to the right one. At the end, I'll adjust the sheen roughness, and that will be it. Quick and easy. Next, I add fabric materials to the bed cover. Here, I'll choose wool twill. First, I'll adjust the color. I want it to be a dark gray to create some contrast. The same for the warp color, just slightly brighter. Let's decrease the scale for a moment so we can better see what we're adjusting. I tweak the weft and warp diameters. I'll decrease the thickness and amplitude a bit. Maybe I'll increase the scale again to see the final result. I'll increase the scale even more. I want the pattern to be smaller. Actually, I'll go back to a higher value, but I'll also increase the thickness so the fibers look less flat. The twisting value determines how many revolutions the fibers make within a single weft or warp. We can play around with this, but as I mentioned earlier, it's mostly important for close-ups. Let's go back to the final scale. Next, I'll make the material shinier. Imagine that our wool yarns have a subtle shine. I'll also make a few small adjustments to the sheen layer. You can see that we can start from the default settings and easily adjust everything to fit our needs. Finally, I refined the color once more. I'll make the weft and warp colors darker. For the second material, I did the same. I just changed the color. And here's how it looks. Again, I want to highlight this. I created it without using any maps. At the end, I show you how to add patterns to your materials. I chose the satin cushion and kept the pillows white by tweaking the colors. I also adjusted the sheen layer as it originally was pink. To add a pattern, I'll plug my black and white texture into the pattern slot. In this setup, black becomes the weft color and white becomes the warp color. Next, I'll adjust the UV mapping so the pattern sits exactly where I want it. It looks good, but I need to make some adjustments. I temporarily unplug the pattern and fine-tune the material settings. For some reason, I have refractions in this material. I'll turn it off by typing 0. I'll make it shinier though. Nice. I would adjust the sheen layer too. Then I set the scale and plug the map back into the pattern slot. Here we go. Cool. As you can see, the workflow is simple with plenty of control. And you don't even need a lot of maps to get a great result. Let me know in the comments, what's your favorite Corona feature in 2025 and why? Wishing you all the best in the new year. Happy 2026!